Welcome to the Silver and Mature WomanPreneur podcast, a podcast for and by women over 50, providing faith-building strategies for female entrepreneurs looking to achieve higher levels of productivity, capacity, and growth, where we strive to focus on God's agenda while building our businesses to serve our community with excellence. Welcome to the podcast. Today I have the pleasure of having Lori Koors on the show. She's a wellness coach, she is a health coach, and she provides one-on-one and group coaching as well as she serves corporate clients. Now, I've known Lori for about we met at least 3 or 4 years ago at a Christian Entrepreneurs Retreat. And so I've had the pleasure of meeting her in person. She's an amazing woman of God, and she definitely brings it, because not only is she a wellness and health coach, she's actually pretty good. She's got some pretty good dance moves. And so welcome to the show, Lori. It's been a while since we've chatted, and it's been at least 3 or 4 years since we've seen each other in person. But welcome to the show. Thank you for coming to the Silver and Mature WomanPreneur show. How have you been?
Oh, really good, Aldreama. Since the last time we saw each other, business has been growing and evolving as the Lord, leads, and I cannot complain whatsoever. And it's been a few years since we saw each other in Utah in that beautiful, beautiful retreat house.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it is definitely my pleasure. And so for the sake of introducing you to the audience, let us know a little bit about what you do as a wellness. I keep putting those two words together. Wealth. But
well, I like that.
Wellness. Yeah, because it does impact your wealth. Your wellness and your health does impact your wealth. How about that?
It does. Yeah. Yes.
So let's talk about that, because there are, a lot of, wellness and health coach professionals. And so tell me a little bit about what you do and what transformations you help your clients get.
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to. Yes, my coaching business started about 6.5 years ago, and I was still working full-time for an organic food manufacturer. I was in customer service there, learned a ton about the food industry, organic and conventional there, label reading, all kinds of things, and I became a health coach while working full-time, and quit there about April 2018. But what I specialize in, and again, it's evolved over time, but what I really love to do, what I specialize in, is helping people with their daily habits. It's kind of digging in deep and just where can we make changes to your everyday habits that will, it's a journey, and it eventually gets you to the weight loss goals that you have. I help people conquer emotional eating, which, leads to weight gain and all kinds of issues, all kinds of health issues, getting that under control. And it's just empowering people, and one little step at a time, so there's no overwhelm. When we get overwhelmed with too many changes, that's when we don't do anything, or we do the all or nothing thinking where, I blew at this meal, so forget the whole week, or, just forget it. I'm a failure. I am no good at this. Here we go again. And it's no. Let's just look at it differently. So it's also breaking that all or nothing thinking and changing mindsets. I work with people on a spiritual and emotional level as well. I really don't do meal plans, so I dig a little deeper with people. And the transformation has just been 30 pounds dropped. One lady, 22 total inches, and she was still losing inches even when COVID hit. We had stopped working with each other like December 2019, and she said, I checked in with her, I think April of 2020, said, gosh, how are you doing? And she said, you know what? I've kept my weight off, and I'm still losing inches because now I'm running and hiking just to get out of the house. So that, I'll tell you, there is nothing more rewarding than seeing people literally transform their lives. That's really what my goal is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, I'm sorry, were you going to?
No.
Okay. Wanted to make sure that you didn't have another thought there. I don't want to interrupt. So as we were, prior to us, the recording started, you were talking about the fact that you had your own health journey. How did that impact you, and what was that health journey? What did that look like, and how did that get you to where you are now and what you're doing to help others reach, the transformational results that they're seeing?
Yeah, sure. Well, mine really started with a diagnosis, autoimmune diagnosis in the year 2000. I was a stay-at-home mom with 2 small children, and just really stressed out, a lot of things going on. And I believe looking back, hindsight is 2020. Mm-hmm. Looking back, and also I wasn't in nutrition school back then. So after having all of, the schooling and all of the other research I've done and just living life, what I feel like happened is I was very stressed out at the time for a lot of different reasons, some relationship issues, just having 2 little kids, all kinds of things. So between the stress and relationship strains, and I was feeling frumpy, stay-at-home mom, I just like grazing. So, you're feeding the kids, it seems like, all the time. And so I don't know if anyone out there can identify, but, you're making the kids their sandwiches. You eat a bite or 2 of whatever. You're giving them goldfish. You pop a few in your mouth. And by the time you know it, you're gaining some in your middle, and wasn't feeling like myself. And so I thought, well, back then the low-carb craze was going on. So I thought, oh, well, that's an easy way, right? We always want the easy way out, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to deal with the emotional issues or whatever else is going on. So I put myself on this low-carb diet. The doctor even said, you don't even need to do that. And I was like, oh, what does he know? He knew a lot, right? Looking back, I should have listened. Sorry. So what I did was I don't eat a lot of red meat. Well, I said, oh, my gosh, well, I can have, more protein, less carb. You got to fill that gap. Anytime you back away from one of your macros, which is carbs, fats, or proteins, you have to eat more of another one or the other mm-hmm. 2. So I was eating a lot more fat and protein, and a lot of it in the form of red meat. And I was a huge fan of Diet Coke, Diet sodas, and all, just not doing it in a healthy way, because I just wanted to be thinner now. And what I realize now, that was a very high inflammatory diet, and you mix that with stress and then your DNA makeup, and that's kind of called, what all this is if you look up the word epigenetics, this is kind of what was happening is when you get into stress and an unhealthy eating pattern or whatever, then that can turn on your genetic makeup. And so I firmly believe that that turned on this autoimmune DNA that I had in my system, and voila, we have multiple sclerosis. So, yeah, so I was diagnosed with that in 2000 after some tests and everything. And I had a hunch. I was doing some research online, and, sometimes that's good and bad, depends on the source. And but I was reading more about diet and all kinds of things, and I thought, you know what? I kind of feel like this is what the doctor's going to say. And sure enough, he did. Well, what I did was, the first thing, and again, this is before I had all my schooling and everything, but my instinct was, I asked him, well, it's scary, and so you want some way to control the situation. And I said, well, what food should I eat and what should I not eat? And, I knew the diet drinks were not, I knew I had to get off of those. So the doctor basically said, really what you're eating does not matter. That doesn't have anything to do with it. Here are your 4 medications you can take, and I felt like he was like, good luck. And me and my husband at the time, we were walking out to the parking lot, out to the car, and I had this holy anger, like, oh, no. I said some choice words. I said, that's some phooey. And the next day, I took the kids and we went to a bookstore in Strongsville, Ohio, as far I was, and I went to the, what do they call it, the disease section or something like that. And I got a book out called The MS Diet by Dr. Swank, and I followed that almost to a T because I was just scared, and I had 2 little kids. I needed to be there for them. And I'll tell you what, I changed my diet, like I did a 180. I went from diet soda to unsweetened iced tea because I didn't want to put a bunch of sugar in my body either. And so I just did everything the book said. And here's one thing he said, which is, I knew it. He said, no red meat for the first year. And what was I doing? Going haywire on that. So that was just kind of the beginning of that. And it could go on and on and on. But that diagnosis was, this happens a lot to people. It was my wake-up call. Yeah. And so what I try to do with my health coaching is I'm like, okay, guys, before you get to that point, let's not get to that point before you start taking care of your health. I think most of us know that I'm going down the wrong path, but hey, my body seems to be doing okay. And sometimes it takes that wake-up call, unfortunately. And then you just have to kind of really swim upstream to take care of your health, or a lot of people just take a pill, So, yeah, so there's a lot wrapped up in it, but and then through all kinds of, dietary changes, boundaries. I just learned so much. I got emotional healing through a new church I went to, between changing my diet, emotional healing, spiritual healing, and physical healing. About 8 years later, some words that I said in the laundry room one day, this holy anger rose up, and I said, you know what? I am going to baffle the doctors one day. And I meant it with every fiber of my being. Didn't think about it before. After that, 8 years later, a lot of things have happened. I'm now divorced. A lot of changes. I'm at a new church, and I'll tell you what, 8 years later, those words came to pass, and I was healed by the grace of God. Give him all the glory during a water baptism, and it was confirmed by a doctor a month later, and here I am.
Wow. Wow.
Praise God.
Oh, my God.
I'll tell you, there's so many things to the story, but that is why I'm so passionate about helping people, not just with a diet, but in their spirits and souls, mind, will, and emotions. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's where I think where we really get tripped up.
Yes, yes. Oh, my gosh. So you obviously see this as your calling, right?
Yes. It's not just yes.
It's not just your occupation. This is your calling,
right.
and
right.
you're, this is what God has created you to do.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that's so important to stress that, because I know a lot of, listeners that women that may be listening that may be in that situation, trying to figure out, okay, what is it that, I'm called to do? And a lot of times it's something that, that you've experienced, or you, like you said, you had a holy anger about this whole thing. Like your doctor was going to, prescribe medicine and then call him in the morning, what have you, that kind of thing. And so, and so, I mean, I think it's so important, to point that out, because, and I'm so glad that you shared that testimony, with us, because I know that's going to encourage a lot of people. There's so much stuff that's going on these days. So, so thank you so much for that. So, let me, so what are your thoughts? Because as we're talking about, career, and, we're talking to women that's, over 50. Okay. And so right now, as we're recording this show right now, there's what they're calling the Great Resignation. And so what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that? I don't know. I've never heard it called that. I mean, I think this is like something that's happened before. But this is my first time ever hearing of that term. But what are your thoughts on the Great Resignation? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I know. I had never heard the term either until recently. And it's something that me and a group of ladies have really been talking about on Clubhouse. And it's, oh my gosh, there's just so much, so much conversation. I actually experienced my Great Resignation 3.5 years ago. Just a quick little story there. So I was in customer service for 11 years, and you can only do that job for so long. It's stressful. It is. Yeah. It is really stressful, and then you just need a change. So I had, been doing this health coaching for a few years on the side, and God had been preparing me to quit. I mean, I knew I was never going to retire from there. It's an awesome company. I still send people their way for their products, but I just knew it wasn't my destiny to stay there and retire. And so it was February 2018, and I'll never forget that week leading up to that Friday when God said, it's today. I thought, oh my gosh. And he'd been preparing me for at least 2+ years. Single woman, and we want the health insurance and all of that. And so I thought, oh my gosh, here we go. And so I remember walking into to HR and just, I couldn't believe it was like so surreal. I couldn't even believe I was doing it. So, but I just knew that if I did not do it that day, there was a reason why God wanted me to do it that day. And, sometimes we don't know, but if anyone, this is just how I did it. I thought, oh, dear Lord. So I said, okay, Lord, here's a test. And so I sat there. I had this beautiful office, And so anyway, I had a minute to sit there by myself. I closed my eyes, and I said, all right, you imagine yourself walking out that front door, and you did not do it. How do you feel? Oh, and I could I felt it. I felt this. Oh, I can't, it's like I had just let my dad down. Like I blew it. Like, and so my son, I remember telling him that. I did go through with it that day. But he said, Mom, that was regret. I said, yes. I said, I would have felt, the deep heaviness of regret. So I thought that felt worse to me than doing what I had to do. So that was a confirmation for me. So anyway, so that was about 3.5 years ago. And hasn't been like super easy, but when you're in the middle, when you know you're in the middle of God's will, then you know it's going to be okay. Yeah. You know, he supplies all your needs, and so it's been this thing. So for me, I don't know if people now, after every, just people getting laid off, and saying, what do I do now? Oh, I've always wanted to maybe start this business. Maybe this is my chance. People getting I think a lot of it is people have been working from home, and now they see, I can spend time with my family and still get work done. And my boss is still happy with my performance. Now maybe they have to go back in, and they're like, no, I've realized what is really priority in my life.
Yeah.
It's different for everyone, but I think people are seeing that when the earth stood still, it seemed like, and we were all shut in our homes or, whatever, I think we all had time to pause and really reflect what's a priority in our life, what's the most important thing. Yeah. And again, everyone has a different perspective, but I think we just learn that there's just different ways to do things. There's different ways, there's different opportunities. Also, now that after quitting, I have had to, I guess been forced to tap into my creativity. I've had to do everything. I've had to learn marketing. I've learned more tech skills than I ever thought I would even want to. So it really has been pretty amazing. And I think you learn so much more about yourself. You learn resilience. But I think a lot of it is just overall, it's people have learned that there's different ways to get their job done and or different ways to earn a living that it's so much more satisfying and it's impurposeful. Does that mean meaningful? Yeah.
Yeah, and you said so many things that made me think about, and like even, with COVID and all that's going on, for me, I know that it was tragic, for a lot of people. There were a lot of, and I don't want to diminish, that.
No.
But I can say for me, it was actually the best thing for me and how I like to do life. Because it was like now virtual is acceptable. It's like I've always wanted to do everything virtual. And so that was like the perfect opportunity, for whereas even because I remember even before, this happened right after we were at the retreat. So because things started, it was right after that. But anyway, so I remember thinking, okay, I gotta, I want to be able to gather, women, so I want to have networking events. So I was looking for places and locations and all this other kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, I was like, I hated it. And it's not that I don't like people, because I'm really I'm a hugger. I love hugging people.
Yes, you are.
Yes. And so it wasn't that, but, the travel, and then, people, the traffic, and it was all of that other stuff that came along, with that. And so then when, when COVID hit, and so it was like, okay, now this is more acceptable. And so now it's like, if I'm going to have a meeting, it's going to be virtual. It's like, it's not optional. And so I was really, for me, it was like, it was things that was, now it's the norm rather than, the other way. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
That for me was the best thing for me. And then the other thing that I because I was having this discussion with one of my friends. This was like last year or something, and this is my take on the church. So, because my friend, she was saying, well, we definitely need to get back to meeting in person, because, people are just losing, the closeness of meeting in person, and and that type of thing. And my take on the whole virtual meeting online thing was that I believe the whole COVID thing was kind of like a kingdom reset. And in that reset, as far as the church is concerned, now there are people who might not have ever set foot in a church building that can now experience the worship virtually, whereas before they may not have been able to do so for whatever reason. I mean, whether they are sick, or whether this distance is a problem, all kinds of reasons. And so I felt like this kingdom reset there was good and bad. Yes, there was a lot of death, and there's a lot of sickness, things like that that's going on. But during times like this, God never promised us that wouldn't happen.
Well, I just thought of this too. You know what it also did, and we've been back in person for a long, long time, which is great because it's 15 minutes from me, my church. But what it also, I thought of a couple things is, so a lot of churches, now have both, and so it will also help the reach of the church. Anyone from anywhere in the world can now view your church. And two, it reaches the nations. And second, if you have church hurt, which a lot of people have, that, they've been hurt by people in the church, and maybe they're like, I don't know if they're nervous to just to step foot in a church, which I would understand. This way they can participate and get a feel for the message in the congregation, in the music, before maybe saying, I think this is a safe enough place for me to try to go back, So, I see. I didn't think of that before, but there's something good that always comes out of things like this. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that about church hurt, because the previous interview that I just did, the guest that I had on actually does faith deconstruction, where she deals with people who have gone through church hurt.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that something? Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
And so, so that's what she does. She, she is a faith deconstruction coach. And so she, talks with people, that, toxic religion and things like that. That's what she deals with. And so it was so funny that you said that. I was like, I just talked to someone, and I said, I was like, you are so needed right now. I mean, I'm sure that, they're just blowing your doors down, so, but yeah, it was really fascinating, having that conversation. What do you love about your business, and is there anything that you dislike about your business? And then answer, the question about, some tips, in terms of business.
Oh, sure. Well, like I was saying, there's nothing better than seeing a life transformed right before your eyes, someone's life transformed, and also a few folks, too, their marriages have gotten stronger because of their health journey.
Wow.
In a lot of different ways. Being more open. I remember one of my clients saying she all of a sudden is more open to like trying salmon and some healthier foods that her husband was always trying to make, and she was like, oh, I don't, And so he said, you want to try salmon? And he said, this could change our relationship. And so just even little things like that, he's like, wow, she'll enjoy what I cook. So just hearing that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. And the things with coaching, any type of coach out there would understand this. The thing that is probably the most frustrating is, and I don't get this much at all, but there have been times when, you're really, when you want for your client to succeed more than they do, or more, you're putting in more effort than they are. I'm like, that's probably the most frustrating thing, I would say. To coaching in general. That's business coaching. That's anything. Life coaching, whatever you do. So that's, and I always say coaches need coaches.
Absolutely.
So we all need each other to make sure we're okay and healthy mentally and all of that. So I would say that's probably just the toughest thing.
I would agree. In terms of a business, a business tip, that it's like preachers need preachers over them. They need mentors. Coaches need someone coaching them, and so so as a if you are one that doesn't see the value in having a coach, then you are probably not going to be a good coach.
Go ahead. And I think maybe, I think a lot of times people, let's say, they don't understand what we do. Like what does a coach really do? And why would they charge, a few $100s for that service? What do I get out of that? And so when you do see transformation in your life, your health is priceless.
Absolutely.
You can't put a price on it.
That's right. I don't know about you, especially when the coaching industry first kind of, surfaced. It was really hard to put any kind of, because now, I mean, coaching is like a second language. It's like not a second language, but it's more,
and it's acceptable. A little more now.
And so but before, I remember when I first started, getting into coaching and thinking about it and started, it was even before I had my organizing business. Well, right after my organizing business, because I wanted to kind of transition and pivot into, the coaching space. But I had actually heard about it prior to that. And so I remember like one of my first clients, it was because I did not understand myself what I was supposed to do as a coach.
Yes.
And so I had a client that it actually started turning into problems. Like you were just talking about, people who they have got to want the transformation more than you do. You can't want it more than them. And so what was happening was it turned out to be therapy sessions. We were meeting on a weekly basis. She was bringing all of these problems. And I remember starting to feel the overwhelm. I was like, this can't be coaching. And obviously, and I didn't tell her that, but we had to, end it because she wasn't going to see transformation because she kept bringing problems to the call.
She wasn't ready to move forward.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it was like, they were counseling sessions. And so I'm like, I'm not a counselor. I'm not equipped for this. And so I would say, if anyone that's listening to this call is considering being a coach, first understand what it is a coach does. And that is not to bring all of the answers. It's to help pull out what's already in them and help them to realize, what's already there. And so, but yeah, I didn't understand that, when I first started coaching. Oh my gosh, it was a journey. Oh my gosh. So
it really is. Your first few people, it really is a trial and error. It really is. Yeah. And everyone, even years to come, it's always different.
Yeah.
Each person brings a different. And each group I have led has a personality, kind of like, classrooms in schools. Don't you? I feel like they have a personality of their own. Even
gotcha.
Just like teachers are like, well, I can't wait for this class to move on to the next grade.
Right.
And then the next year you may have just the class that's just the dream.
Right. So I know you do group coaching, you do one-on-one coaching, and you have corporate clients.
Oh, sure. So this is airing, I know, a couple months later. So yeah, I do offer some limited spaces for one-on-one coaching. And then the groups, the one-on-one coaching is usually it's 3 or 6 months. Okay. Because really 3 months is really the minimum to start seeing a change, and really it gives you time to establish new healthy habits. Yeah. It takes some time to undo and then learn new, And then I have 6-week groups that I run 3-4 times a year. Those are a lot of fun. That's great for people who want the community. It's a little, it's different price point, sure. And it's just a lot of fun. We do, it's consistent community, for the 6 weeks. We do group coaching calls once a week and that kind of thing. That's been fun. So I run those usually different times of the year. If this is airing in February 2022, I will be doing a sugar shakedown.
Ooh.
As a group right around there. And so if you're interested in anything like that, you can contact me. We'll probably do that at the end. But and then corporate wellness has, I offer that to small to medium-sized companies that they may be small enough that they don't have a program in place yet. And I am able to pivot and customize, as much as they want or as little as they want. So that's the really nice thing about being flexible in that way.
Yeah.
And then, the thing that is ongoing all year, that's a B2C, business to, consumer, for my clients is my Spirit, Soul, Body. It's called Healthy You, Spirit, Soul, Body Community. And that is housed in its own app. It's off of Facebook. It's not a Facebook group, but the platform acts like a Facebook group. You can post pictures, comments. I can go live now. They just added this feature. It is so much fun. And when you're trying to, go from hurting to wholeness and that kind of thing, social media is probably one of the least things you need.
Yes.
to stay on, or that's why God really wanted me to get this thing off of Facebook, and I think that's why, because once you open it to get into the group, here we go. I'm getting all these notifications, and so it's housed off of social media. It's a lot of fun. We dive in a little deeper. There's a lot of fun posts. There's some more serious ones. We get into scripture. And then eventually there's going to be a spin-off of that. The Spirit, Soul, Body community is free for anyone that's interested. Okay. And then there'll be a spin-off where if people in that group want to go deeper, it's a membership group, not very much a month, but it's just enough to, there's monthly coaching calls to get a little more personal help. I'll have monthly guest speakers on there. When you talk about Spirit, Soul, Body, we're talking even, like you were saying earlier, Aldreama, your wealth, what is the health of your finances? That causes so much stress, which then affects your body, right?
Yes.
I'm going to have people talking about healthy relationships, all kinds of things, because your soul is your mind, will, and emotions, and all areas of your life affects that, and then it affects your health. So it's going to be really, really excited about that group, offering that to churches and things like that as well. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's really exciting.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, Aldreama does give the best hugs, I will say.
But, thank you so much, Lori. Hi, this is Aldreama Harper, and thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope you got value for where you are in your entrepreneurial endeavor. And if you'd like to know more about how I can further serve you, simply go to CoachDreama.com. Again, that's CoachDreama.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Have an amazing day.